Hello, my name is Massa, and I'm the owner of the Insurgency Community League and a player in the 5v5 Firefight community. Um, this is going to be the first video in a series called Insurgency Bootcamp, where I will be covering the basics of playing 5v5 Firefight, but a lot of this stuff can also be applied to the game as a whole. But today I'm just going to cover game settings. A lot of people have asked me either about the settings I use or what I'd recommend. So yeah, let's get started. So as you can see, my game is clean, but it's not on the higher settings. Things definitely aren't as pretty as the game can be, but it's very bright, very visible, and also very minimal visual clutter. So yeah, let's have a look at settings, how I've done this. So starting with game settings, I have all of the pop-ups and the hints turned off other than vaulting, and I can't turn off the optic hint. I don't understand, well, I don't know how I do, but I probably would if I was able to. The only reason you do want the vault hint is because some surfaces are very tricky with where and like what angle you have to be stood at to vault, so it can be helpful to see when the game is saying you can. You do want to turn off view bob and camera animation, just because it does make it easy to see enemies, especially whilst you're moving. If you have it on and you're running, there will be a gentle sort of up and down like jitter to your camera, and that can be a little bit distracting. I have the compass always on because it's helpful for lining up grenades. I have the fire mode selection on all the time because I've had one too many situations where I've been on semi-auto and I thought I was on full auto. So with the colours, it isn't too important what colour you have set, really, as long as it's something relatively visible, especially for your teammates. You do really want to be able to see your teammates' diamonds. But the enemy one is not too important, not for me personally, because I would normally recommend turning down the objective indicator opacity, just so that the icons aren't distracting you. But if you're newer to the game and you still want to want to be reminded where the points are, I would put the enemy team color to something very distinct that you're not going to see, like a pink or maybe a green or something, just so that it doesn't cover up. Well, an enemy isn't going to blend in with it. What else? I do have the FPS counter and the net stats on, just because then I can see when I'm having a connection issue or my FPS is going down for some reason. In terms of keybinds, the main ones are that I've got jump and vault on different keys. So jump is still on spacebar, but vault is on it's either mouse 4 or mouse 5. But anyhow, it's that just means that when you want to jump, you won't accidentally vault instead. There are some, like if you're stood next to a wall that you can vault on, if it's on the same key, it will force you to vault. You won't be able to, so crouching and sliding, I'm currently experimenting with having them on separate keys as well, just because whilst you're trying to slide boost, which I'll do a video on later, sometimes if you don't have enough momentum, it won't let you slide and you'll just end up crouching instead. And obviously if you just crouch in the middle of an open area, that can be pretty dangerous. You just lose all, you're no longer running. What else? I believe that's it for binds and the control settings. I have my look sensitivity at 0.3, but my DPI is at 800. For me, this feels the best. It gives the best middle ground between being able to sort of flick around whilst having good good ability to make micro adjustments. Mouse moving I have off. This is only really helpful if you've got a cheap mouse with a low polling rate. I've got a pretty nice mouse, so that isn't really relevant for me. What else? That is it for controls. Under video, and this is probably where you can make the biggest difference in sort of your game and sort of how you're able to perform, I think. I have my gamma set to 5. I do play on a 1080p resolution. I previously have played on like resolutions like 1280 by 1024. I believe I also used to play on 1024 by 768. And I also did experiment with a custom resolution of 1080 by 1080. But for me, currently, native 1080p is fine. It is what I would normally recommend for most people. It is a very acquired taste playing stretched in this game. For the quality settings though, I have A off. I will explain why in a second. And everything else is set to low other than shadow quality, because then that means as long as it's above medium you can see enemy shadows. And view distance quality I have set to very high, just so that whilst I'm sniping or playing on a map like Farmhouse, there's no like textures loading in and out. Obviously, frame smoothing turned off. I get a pretty stable sort of 220 to 260 FPS. And frame limit only goes to 144. So if you have a high refresh monitor that goes above 144, you want to just have it set to off. And then I have resolution scale set to 150%. This basically acts as my anti-aliasing instead. I'm more running it like 2160 by 1440p instead of 1080p. It's like it's being upscaled, and this to me looks nicer and smoother with less jaggy edges than using anti-aliasing. Motion blur obviously I've set off in all games like this, in Counter-Strike and any FPS. I always set a motion blur to off. You can try picture-in-picture, but I tend to find that it's more distracting, because obviously it does mean that it's rendering both ends of the scope. Dismemberment is a very important one to have on, because then, for instance, if you get a blood splatter from shooting someone, and they die, it will actually show the blood splatter on the wall behind. If it's set to off, this doesn't happen. So it's a very important indicator when you get a kill. Audio settings, I have it set to headphones. This just kind of, in theory, means it's more accurate audio-wise, but I've not really tested it. The volume I have set to 100. And my effects volume is pretty high as well. This is how I like to play. I like to be able to hear footsteps and leaning and people's guns being blocked, all of that stuff. And you really want to mute the ear ringing as well, because otherwise you get a tinnitus like effect when a grenade goes off near you and you just can't hear anything. And that's basically how I get my game to look as smooth and clean as it is. So yeah, I hope this helps someone, and I'll see you in the next video.